months in the making. People don't realize we threw it out there in the world that we wanted to get John Assaraf here one day. And there you go. Months later, it's so incredible that he was able to make it. He was just on an amazing vacation in the Maldives. So we're so happy that it worked out that he is back today. I'm sure he has a lot of jet lag. So we're very honored that you were able to make it today, John.
Hey, Daniel. Right now it's 5 a.m.
John, you might be muted.
All right, hold on. Let me see.
You need to unmute your Clubhouse.
All right, there we go. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock in the morning for me right now. It's 5:02 in San Diego. It's 5 o'clock in the Maldives right now. So I don't know whether I should be going to the bathroom or going to bed.
Well, there you go. Even better, you're here with us.
I'm here. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So I'll go over John's bio for those that may not know you, and then we're going to dive into your story. We'll talk a little about your expertise. I know you have some things to share. Also, as we're talking, you can go to the top. He has a new business breakthrough challenge that's coming up. If you want to check that out as we're speaking, in case you have some questions, tap the link at the top, and we'll keep this thing going here. So John Assaraf is one of the leading mindset and behavioral experts in the world. He's appeared numerous times on Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, and the Ellen DeGeneres Show. He has built 5 multi-million-dollar companies, written 2 New York Times best-selling books, translated in over 35 languages. He's been featured in 10 movies, including the movie that everybody knows on the planet, which we were talking about, The Secret and Quest for Success, with Richard Branson and Dalai Lama. Today, he's the CEO of MyNeuroGym.com, a company dedicated to helping individuals strengthen their mindset and emotional skills so they can achieve their goals and dream faster. Over to you, Kate.
Wow, John, welcome. Everyone, let's open our mic and welcome John the big way.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Kate. Hey, Kate. And the crowd goes wild. Hi, everyone. It's so good to be on with you.
Yeah, well, you don't look like jet lag at all. You look super refreshed and has that nice island color. There you go. So to put it that way. Well, John, if you tell me, what was the city or town you grew up in like?
I was born in Tel Aviv, Israel, and I lived there till I was 5 years old. And then I moved to Montreal, Canada, and I lived there from 5 to 19. So for 12 years for 5 to 19. Now you can tell I'm jet lagged. I lived there for 14 years. And then I moved to Toronto, Canada to get into real estate when I was 19. I lived there for about 7 years. And then I moved to Indiana to start my first real estate company called Remax.
Remax, yeah. So if you can remember, what kind of kid are you in high school?
I was in the top 1% of my class that made the other 99% possible, which means I was in the bottom of my class. I was in the bottom 1% that made the other 99% possible. Hated school, failed English, failed math, got kicked out of school numerous times, got in trouble with school, got in trouble with the law. I was a troublemaker as a kid, and did a lot of things I'm not proud of. But it was also the pivoting reasons for me having to change my life, and fortunately, finding some wonderful mentors who were able to give me some guidance that I desperately needed.
Can you tell me that day when you decided to do that pivot to what is that, if you can recall that moment?
Yeah, it was a very, very clear moment. It was actually right around March, believe it or not, 1980. I remember the date so well for specific reasons. So I was 19, and I was getting into a lot of trouble with the law, and my family knew that I was either going to die or go to jail. One of the two things were going to happen. And my brother, who was concerned for my well-being, had arranged for a lunch meeting with a man that he was teaching tennis to in Toronto, Canada. And this man's name was Alan Brown. And so I took the train from Montreal to Toronto to have lunch with this guy. And at lunch, and this guy by the name, his name was Alan Brown. He was he had 7 or 8 real estate offices, 400 or 500 real estate agents. He was a real estate developer, very, very successful individual. And at lunch, this guy asked me why I was doing the things that I was doing, and I said, I don't know, I just want to make some money. He says, well, why don't you do it legally and honestly? I said, well, I have a job. I'm making $1.65 an hour, and I can't make ends meet making $1.65 an hour. They said, well, that's just because you're not using your brain the way you should be using your brain. You're a genius. You just don't know it. He said, everybody's a genius, and most people don't know it. And he asked me, what were some of the goals and dreams that I had. And at the time, my goal and dream was to move out of my parents' house, to buy a car, and to be able to get a job that I made more than $1.65 an hour at. I was working in the shipping department for Philips Electronics. And he said, what are some of your bigger goals and dreams? And I said I didn't have any. And so he actually gave me this document to fill out. And the first question was, at what age do you want to retire? And I was like, I'm 19. What do you mean retire? I like to get my career started. I'm not looking to retire. The second question was, how much net worth do you want to have upon retirement? And I remember asking him, I said, Mr. Brown, what does net worth mean? I had no idea what net worth meant. And it had a whole bunch of these questions. And what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of charitable contributions do you want to make? And so I wrote down, I want to travel the world first class. I want to live in a 4-bedroom home. I want to drive a Mercedes Benz. I want nice Italian clothes. Except I wrote out all this stuff that was just in my mind. I was just imagining this stuff. And he looked at what I wrote down, and he asked me a poignant question. And he said to me, he said, listen, every one of these goals and dreams are achievable. He said, but I'm going to ask you one question, and the answer to this question will determine whether you achieve every one of these things or not. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was thinking, sure, yeah, one question is going to determine whether I achieve this amazing lifestyle. And so he leaned over and he said, are you interested in achieving all of these things, or are you committed? And I remember, thinking to myself, interested or committed, like, what's the difference? So I asked him, I said, Mr. Brown, what's the difference? And he said to me, he said, listen, he said, if you're interested, you will do what's easy and convenient. But if you are committed, you will do whatever it takes. He said, if you're interested, you'll allow your current circumstances and your conditioning to control you. But if you are committed, you will upgrade your identity to match this destiny. You'll upgrade your beliefs, you'll upgrade your skills, you'll upgrade your knowledge so that you become the type of person capable of achieving the income required to live this lifestyle. And so I don't know what got into me, but I leaned back over to him and I said, well, I'm committed. And he said, in that case, I'll be your mentor. And I remember being excited and saying to him, I said, that's great, Mr. Brown. What's a mentor? I didn't know, right? I was ignorant. I was young. And he said, a mentor is somebody who shows you what to do to achieve your goals and dreams. A mentor is somebody who shows you what not to do to save you time, energy, and money. And a mentor is there to lift you up, and a mentor is there to pick you up. And so my life changed that day, because 2 weeks later, I moved from Montreal to Toronto. I moved in with my brother. I went to real estate school for 5 weeks. I passed the test. And then I got a job working for Mr. Brown on commission only. And what's interesting is I didn't have any sales skills. I didn't have any management skills. I didn't have any marketing skills. I didn't have any skills. But I was willing to work. And over the next 18 months, at 20 years old, 19 and 20 years old, I made $180,000 selling on commission only by learning what he taught me, step by step, do this, don't do that. And I just showed up and did it. I didn't ask why. I just said, what do I do? And he said, this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is when you do it. And I just followed his formula, period, end of story. And, that was 40 years ago. And
Wow. Are you still in contact with him?
You know what's interesting is after I worked for Mr. Brown for almost 2 years, I went and traveled around the world for 15 months. And then when I came back, I went to work for another real estate company called Remax, which was just getting started in Toronto. And I lost track of Mr. Brown. And what's interesting is even when I went back to Toronto after I moved to Indiana to start my own company several years later, I tried to reach him and I was never able to get a hold of him. And something interesting happened last year. On one of the trainings that I did, like an interview like this, I talked about this story. And my office got a call from a gentleman. I don't remember the guy's name. This was last year. And this gentleman said to Kristen, my head of client care, hey, I think that Mr. Assaraf was talking about my father. And so Kristen said to me, hey, John, this guy called in and he thinks that the Alan Brown story that you tell was his father. And I said, yeah, okay, sure. And I left it alone, never followed up. And about 2 weeks later, the guy called again and said, did you speak to Mr. Assaraf to tell him that I think that's my father? I'd love to talk to him. So I called this kid up, and he lived in New York. He was going to medical school. And I started telling him the story. He goes, that sounds like my father. My mother's name is Lori. I said, oh my God, I know your mother. And I said, is your father still alive? He said, yeah, like many years ago, he retired and moved to Florida. So he's living in Florida. And so I said, can you please put me in touch with your father and mother? I'd love to thank him because I haven't been able to talk to him for 40 years to thank him. And so he gets us on a call, and I'm talking to Alan Brown and Lori and thanked Mr. Brown and reminded him of the story. And he says, oh my God, I had no idea that, I even told you that, I asked you that question, are you interested, are you committed? So I asked everybody that question. I said, it changed my life. I mean, you helped change my life. And as a result of what you taught me then, before I set any goal to achieve, I always ask myself, John, are you setting this goal because you're interested? Or are you setting this goal because you are committed to doing whatever it takes to achieve it? And he goes, oh, wow, well, thanks for letting me know. And he's got to be in his 80s now. But I had a chance to talk to him and thank him. And I actually got a picture of him just last year for the first time in 40 years. So
Wow.
it was
Wow.
serendipitous.
Wow. What a blessing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you have not met Mr. Brown,
Yeah.
John?
Oh, yeah. I hate to think of the repercussions of my behaviors back then and not having this off ramp to get to take, because I know where my life was headed, and so did my family.
Wow. Oh, thank you for sharing that. John, can
You're
you tell us
welcome.
about your first business? You said, how old were you? You started, were you doing a franchise at Remax? Is that what you do?
I bought the franchising rights to Remax for the state of Indiana. So I was a real estate agent for Mr. Brown first, then I was a real estate agent for Remax. And then the franchising rights for Remax for the state of Indiana became available. So I bought it, and I became partners with two of the most successful sub-franchisors in the world, Walter Schneider and Frank Polzler. And they taught me the art of franchises and the art of franchising. And over the next 10 years, I proceeded to open up 85 offices in Indiana. Went from a startup to opening up 85 offices, recruiting 1,200 salespeople, plus all the staff for those 85 offices. The franchisees were responsible to recruit the staff, and we went from zero sales to $4.5 billion a year in sales. We sold over $55 billion in the 20 years that I was there. We paid the agents over $1.5 billion in commissions. And that was my first business. And I built it over 10 years. And then I had somebody run it for me for the next 10 years before I sold it in 2007. And then I did my second business with a group of friends.
Wow. Jen, how did you scale that business? So, you know, it means to be, I mean, because our club title is what it takes to run $1 million business. I mean, you went from zero to million to billion. I mean, paying commission of $1 billion to your agent, that's an amazing achievement. So How did you scale that business?
The answer is slowly initially. Let me explain. The art of franchising is really understanding that what drives a franchise and why people invest, $25,000, $50,000, $500,000 for a franchise is because somebody else has figured out the process, right? So you're paying for the process, you're paying for the systems, you're paying for the masterminding that happens as 1, 10, 100, 500, 1,000 franchisees are doing things in their marketplaces, and they're figuring things out. When markets are good, when markets are bad, and small markets and big markets and mid-sized markets, and so you're figuring stuff out. So when we got to Indiana, there were 2 other people that tried to build RE/MAX in Indiana before us, and they failed. And so what we did initially is we came up with a strategy for a leveraged model, which means we were going to go slow first so we can go fast later. And that means that we had to design and build, our systems and processes from the ground up in Indiana, because we also had to rebuild a brand that was tarnished for about 7, 8 years by other people that had owned the franchising rights for RE/MAX in Indiana. So in the first year, we only opened up, I think it was 10 or 12 offices. And then we really worked on those to get some momentum. And then we opened up like 20 the next year, and then we opened up 40 the following year, and then we opened up the balance. And so how did we scale? We scaled by focusing on quality versus quantity first. So we focused on getting the very, very best people to open up the offices, to run the offices. And that means that we said no to a lot of people that wanted to jump on the bandwagon because RE/MAX was doing well elsewhere. And so it was a process of slow down so we could pick up speed later, right? So there's a saying in the military that goes, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so when we focused on processes and systems that were scalable, we were able to, grow with the right people with a leveraged model that also allowed us to do a few unique things. So initially in the RE/MAX system, it was initially a 100% concept where the agents kept 100% of the commissions. Well, when we opened up Indiana, we actually did a 95-5 where we kept 5% of the commissions, and the agents kept 95%. But then we also did something that wasn't being done very well at the time in the RE/MAX operations around the country, was we implemented a fairly high shared advertising fee that had an escalation every year. So for example, every agent every month would invest $100 into the shared ad fund. Then year 2 would be $120, year 3, $140, year 3, 4, 5, and 6 would be up to $150, $160, $170. And we used that money to buy billboards, to buy radio, to buy television, instead of each individual agent having to spend only their own money on advertising and promotion. So we were quickly able to get onto television and blow our competition out of the water. We became the #1 real estate company in the state within 5 years of startup. And there have been 2 companies there that have been, actually one company was there for over 100 years, another company was there for 75 years. And we were able to be the #1 real estate company in the state in 5 years because we devised a strategy where the sum of the individuals equated to more than what one individual or one company could do. So when you have agents that are participating in the success of the company, then you're able to scale faster. So this comes back down to spending a lot of time thinking about strategy versus spending your time implementing tactics, that may work for a day or 2, but doesn't have the long-term vision of the impact, in a year or 3 or 5. So I was playing the long game versus the short game right off the bat.
Wow, John, you're so ahead of your game. And where did you get all that strategy? I mean, did you have a mentor back then? I mean, because
Yeah.
not everyone, even if you buy into franchising rights, not everyone are successful. A lot of people fail, but you're like hitting out there.
Well, here's the thing that you'll discover, not just in franchising, but in anything. If you take a look at, and I'm going to give you a variety of different things to think about: weight loss, Rubik's cube, building a business, relationships. I'm going to give you four obscure things. And here's my question for you. If you are committed to losing weight and keeping it off, does the process exist? Yes. If you are committed to solving, and let me show you something. Hold on. I'm just going to need to lean over. Whoop. Give me one quick second. It'll be worth it. I'm just going to lean over and I'm going to show you for those who are watching. Okay. All right. I'm going to come back. So if you're committed to solving the 2x2 Rubik's Cube, can you hop onto YouTube right now and follow a step-by-step instruction? Yes. If you're committed to solving the 3x3, can you do it if you go and follow the algorithm on YouTube? Yes. What about a 5x5? Yes. What about your huge monster Rubik's Cube? Now, I use the Rubik's Cube as an example because the algorithm, the how-to exists. I use relationship success because the how-to algorithm exists. I use business success because the how to generate more leads, more sales, more profits, all of that exists. So the issue isn't in the franchise process doesn't exist. Here's the big problem. Even when people have the process, many people will fail to implement the process.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're not short of a process. When we're talking about business growth, there's only three things you really need to get really outstanding at in business initially. And that is generate leads, convert leads, and then nurture the ones that don't convert into paying customers sometime in the future, and then get referrals and repeat business. Master that, you'll have enough money to scale your business. Don't master that and you will suffer forever.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I love how your Rubik's Cube, I got to tell you this story. My 13-year-old practiced it watching YouTube, and his fastest to fix the 4x4 is 8 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
Strategy, he said connotation algorithm, and I don't know. Kid is like, it's fascinating.
That's brilliant. Yeah. There are kids, Kate, that solve the Rubik's Cube, behind their backs blindfolded. They look at it once, put a blindfold on, take it behind their back, and because the algorithm exists of where everything is, the colors, on the Rubik's Cube, they know exactly which way to turn because it's an algorithm. Business growth is an algorithm. Making money is an algorithm. And the algorithm consists of some knowledge and skills and application. And the challenge with, for example, the Rubik's Cube or people building a business, they've just never mastered the algorithm. It's not that the algorithm doesn't exist, it does, right? The reason I show these Rubik's Cubes, the big monster one that I have in my hand right now, this is like your $1 billion plus algorithm you need to learn, or somebody needs to learn. This, if you want to build a $50,000, $100,000 business, it's a lot easier. There's not that many moving parts. It's a lot easier. And so the thing comes back down to where we started earlier. If you're committed, you'll learn the algorithm. If you're interested, you won't. If you ask how many people have tried to solve the Rubik's Cube, 99 people out of 100 have tried to solve it, and only 1 or 2 have ever solved it.
That's true.
Not because it's not solvable, it's because they haven't committed to learning the algorithm. And when people, ask me about business growth, I've coached over 10,000 business owners to success into the billions of dollars, in sales a year. So I've got clients who've generated, 6 figures a year, to a billion a year. And it's all a function of, deciding what the goal is that you have, and then learning the algorithm for that, because all of it's already solvable. Unless you're innovating something new like Uber, unless you're innovating and creating something new that the algorithm doesn't exist and you are the pioneer, you are the first, then you just need to learn what the algorithm is. Most people don't have a blueprint for business growth, just like they don't have an algorithm for a Rubik's Cube. They don't have it, so they fumble and try to do it, versus just saying, why don't you just stop and slow down to learn, the components of it, so that I could just implement a paint by number system. And in the absence of a paint by number system, there was some research done a few years ago around why business owners fail. And a lot of people initially thought that it was because they run out of money. And I think it's 85 or 87% of business owners fail within 3 years. And you know what the number one answer was why they actually failed in their business? It wasn't the lack of money. It was they had lost hope. They lost hope that their business could be a success, even though there were other businesses just like theirs that was successful. And it doesn't matter if you're a coach or a consultant or you had a shoe store. They couldn't figure out the algorithm because they were trying to figure it out on their own.
It's available out there. It's
That's
already
right.
been done. Yes. Now, John, how do you retrain your mind to be committed to your vision, to your goal?
Well, as soon as we're getting into, retraining our brain, I think everybody is keenly aware that we have the conscious part of our brain, which is, the part of our brain that can choose our goals, the part of our brain that can imagine, the part of our brain that can, pick up and persist and have tenacity and resolve. But the challenge for most adults, not children, but adults, is their subconscious mind has got a certain conditioning around several keys. Number one is their identity. And they don't actually see themselves at the subconscious level being a successful business owner, okay, at the level that they want to be at. They see themselves at the level they're actually at. Number two is the beliefs that they have, and there's something called implicit beliefs, and those are your subconscious beliefs around what you really feel you're worth. They're your subconscious beliefs around what you really believe you deserve. There's a subconscious expectation point, a financial set point that we are used to earning versus an explicit set point of what we would like to earn. And so even though we have, a vision for a business or the income or the lifestyle that we want, if our subconscious conditioning doesn't match that vision, then it's like having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. And so part of what I teach all of my students and clients is, how do you upgrade your identity to match your destiny? How do you upgrade your belief system? How do you let go of disempowering beliefs? How do you develop new habits, okay, that drive 97% of your behavior versus, just having vision and goals and dreams? So when we're talking about retraining or reconditioning the brain, we're actually talking about developing new neural networks and pathways and then reinforcing those so they override the old patterns. It's like a home renovation plan, but this is a brain renovation plan. And what we have to do is understand that the way that our brain develops new habits is repetition is the mother of learning and skill, but spaced repetition is also what creates the firing of certain neurons and the rewiring of the brain. And we know that it takes between 66 days and 365 days from a purely neuroscience perspective to create and reinforce a new pattern so that it actually overrides an old pattern in our brain, 66 to 365 days. And so for somebody who says, I'm going to have a vision, I'm going to have goals, this is what I need to believe, these are the habits that I need, and you do this intellectual exercise, of what you need, that doesn't translate into a neural network at the subconscious level that has been created and reinforced. And this is why so many people start and stop, and so many people start and sabotage. It's not because they don't want to, but when you understand the mechanics of your brain, and you understand that we are conditioned to avoid change, we're conditioned to avoid something that I call is the switch cost. The cost of switching from your current self and your beliefs and patterns and identity and habits to the new beliefs and habits that are required to achieve the goals that you want. We are cognitively lazy. Not because we're actually lazy, it's because our brain wants to conserve energy as its number 2 highest priority. Number 1 is safety. Number 2 is conservation of energy, and change requires energy. And unless we have the skills to recognize the patterns and the emotions that they create to sustain our current conditioning, we don't want to change. So it really requires an upgrading of our knowledge, but also our skill, so that change becomes more comfortable than uncomfortable.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's a
Welcome.
lot. Dan, I know Dan has struggle of selling stuff, what he's offering, but if it's someone else owns it, he has no problem selling it. What is wrong with his mindset, John?
Well, there's nothing wrong with his mindset, but there must be something, there must be something triggering at the subconscious level around selling his own stuff. So, he may have an identity or a belief that when I try to sell my own stuff, that maybe makes me look salesy. And if I'm too salesy, if people perceive me to be salesy, they won't like me. And if they don't like me, then that's going to affect my self-esteem and self-worth. And so it's easier for me to sell other people's stuff and promote that than promoting my own stuff. So there may be, some beliefs around what selling his own stuff means. There may be some fears of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, rejected if he sells his own stuff. And then that's going to affect self-image and self-worth, which is going to affect motivation. And he's going to say, nah, I really don't want to do that. There's also one other thing. It's called disappointment avoidance. And so humans prefer to master disappointment versus mastering change or mastering rejection. And so mastering disappointment basically says that it's easier for me to master not selling my own stuff and living with that disappointment than it is for me, to change and become who I need to become in order to sell my own stuff. So there may be a few things that are going on. There's also something called the law of secondary gain, which says that by not selling my own stuff, I'm actually benefiting myself somehow. And my the number one thing that I usually find is how I'm benefiting is I'm safe.
Well, Dan is laughing. Dan, is that correct?
It could be. There's a lot. There's a few things in there. I think. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. I don't know if it's the last one, but I'm thinking it actually might be the first one and some part of the second one, and maybe even some part of the third one. So the good thing though is this. This is the good thing. Out of all this, I did join your breakthrough challenge. Oh, so nice. I'm very excited to join your breakthrough challenge today, which we put a link up because I know you only do this a few times a year, and it's coming up, I believe, on December 2nd. So I put the link at the top. You can join the Business Breakthrough Challenge. And if people are on social media, they can actually message you or DM you business to your IG, and they can get the link there. But I put it at the top if you're on Clubhouse. It's right there. All you got to do is tap it. I just joined it. I joined the VIP as well. So I'm really excited because I do have that problem. Like Kate said, I need to retrain my brain. And I love all the things you're talking about, getting leads and people. I mean, this is the stuff that's the core. The things that we're talking about in this club are all the things that people need. So thank you for that. So people can actually tap the top, join the Business Breakthrough Challenge. This is the Masterclass with John Assaraf. Kate, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you.
Yes,
And
John.
can I just share something with you, Daniel? I love frameworks. And one of the things I learned about franchising is they're really good at giving you frameworks, for what to do. And what I've discovered in business growth specifically is many, many years ago when I used to teach business owners how to grow their companies, I taught them all of the how to grow your business. How do you do marketing right? How do you create sales process maps? And how do you really do the logistical way of building a business? And it was great, and people thought it was phenomenal. But some people would apply it and some people wouldn't. And I was fascinated with how is it that I can give somebody a blueprint to build a $10 million business and they could pay me 10 grand and they wouldn't apply it. And here's what I discovered, and this happened several times in my career with people that I helped, and that was unless you help people upgrade their mindset at the same time that you help them upgrade their skill set and their action set, that was part of the combination. If you left any one of those three things out, people would think that was great, but they wouldn't take action consistently. And so when we upgrade mindset and we upgrade skill set and we upgrade the action set in an environment that's safe for us to grow in, there's the magic formula. If you give somebody just the action sets without the mindsets, they will not take action consistently. If you give somebody the skills without the mindset or the action set, they won't take action consistently. And here's the one thing that we all know is true, whether it's getting into shape, whether it's having a great relationship, or whether it's growing your business, is consistency is key. And it's not just action, right? It's you've got to take the right action consistently in the right order at the right time. And if taking those right actions become habitual, now we have what I call is, instead of possibilities, we have predictability. Right? So I want to take theory and not make it possible for people. I've worked on how do I create models to create predictability. And that's what franchising actually does. Is they give you a model that'll give you predictability. Now, what most franchisees don't work on, and this is the one thing that I did work on with my agents, we went from 0 to 1.2 billion in 5 years. And then we went from 1.2 to 4.5 billion in the next 3 years. Do you know how? I worked on the agent's inner game, the identity, the beliefs, the habits, the perceptions, perspectives. We worked on their inner game. And we actually helped our agents go from an average of $38,000 a year in average income to $120,000 a year average income in a real estate industry where the average income at the time was like $28,000. So mindset plus skill set plus action set in the right environment that fosters growth and change is really what creates predictability and sustainability, where you can continue, to grow. And I've used that in every single one of my businesses. We did the exact same thing with bamboo.com. We went from 0 to 10 million a month in revenue on the 9th month. We went public on NASDAQ in the first year. We applied the same thing for mindset, the same thing for skill set, the same thing for action set. And that's what I've done with over 10,000 business owners. So I can develop the formula of the inner game plus the outer game.
Wow, it's fascinating because months ago we have a room here that called mindset versus skill set, which one comes first, right? And we're arguing into like a chicken and egg, but then you need all three with action set, like you said. Then you
That's
get
right.
predictability. That's how you scale your business. Now, John, some people got the best action set. They don't have the mindset. Would you just
Mhm.
advise someone to partner someone that has the action set and mindset? What do you do? Because some people are just so vision and lots of dreams, but they don't have the skill set.
Yeah, the question I ask is, um, can they develop the skill set? Can they develop the action set? There are only four things that hold people back. If we're looking at, my specialty is behavioral neuroscience, and so when we take a look at what really holds somebody back, all right, if we were to break it down into four things, well, we know that limiting beliefs hold people back, beliefs that limit you. And whether a belief is that you're too young or too old, too Asian or too black or too this or too that, or not enough of this or that, if you have limiting beliefs, right, they will drive behavior that limit you. Agree? So
Yeah.
that's number one. So there are hundreds of limiting beliefs that can hold you back. Now, what is a limiting belief in your brain? A limiting belief in your brain, from a neuroscience, a neuroanatomy perspective, is nothing more than a set, okay, of neural patterns that have been reinforced and have moved from conscious patterns to subconscious patterns that are automatic. And beliefs are the lens by which your brain actually sees the world. And it deletes and distorts things that are not aligned with your beliefs, period. And so limiting beliefs could be holding people back, even if they have the knowledge and the skills. Number two is self-image, self-worth, self-esteem. Those fall into the same bucket. So if you have a vision and goals and even the skills to achieve certain thing, then that's going to hold you back. Because if you can't, at a subconscious level, if you don't feel you are worthy or deserve the success that you say you want, your self-image is going to knock you down. If you have goals that are bigger than your current self-image, self-worth, identity, your identity will win 99 times out of 100. And you will sabotage your success along the way if you don't upgrade your identity to match the vision and goals that you have. And then number three is going to be, you just lack the knowledge and skills. So you have the vision, you have the goals, but if you don't have the knowledge and the skill of what to do, how to do it, when to do it, that actually triggers. Our brain operates on networks and triggers operating either together or not. And so let's say that you have a vision that activates your reward circuit, but you're lacking the knowledge and skill of how to achieve that vision or the goals that you have. Then what happens is you actually are activating your doubt and uncertainty circuit. And that means you're going to have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And when we have a lack of certainty, when we have a lack of the skills of how to achieve the goal, then we move into a safety mechanism triggered in our brain so that we don't embarrass ourselves. And this can be directly linked to fears of being embarrassed or ashamed or ridiculed, judged, or rejected. And we will do more to avoid failing. We'll do more to avoid pain and discomfort, that being embarrassed or ashamed or ridiculed or judged or unloved, or we will do more to avoid that than we will to gain pleasure. We are wired biologically for that to happen. So that brings up the fear, trigger. And we have these two parts of our brain. One is what I call is the Einstein part of our brain that can imagine, right? Einstein was famous for using his imagination to imagine circumstances and scenarios, and he would be able to play out, different concepts in his brain. Well, it's easy for us to use our imagination center in our brain to imagine what our business or life could be like. But the emotional part of our brain is what I call is the Frankenstein's monster part of our brain. So the left prefrontal cortex is Einstein, the right prefrontal cortex is Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's job is to go, but what if you fail? What if this doesn't work? What if you lose money? What if you waste your time? What if it doesn't work like last time? Don't you know that when Mary tried it, this is what happened to her, and she was so embarrassed she doesn't even want to be in business anymore? So now we have the emotional management part of our brain that very few people have ever been trained on managing fear, but other people learn to use fear as their fuel for success, right? So how is that fear can trap somebody into inaction, and fear could fuel somebody into taking massive action? It's the same neurochemical of cortisol or epinephrine or norepinephrine. And here's what I'm here to tell you. Every brain functionally works the same. Let me repeat that. Every brain functionally works the same. But if you're not a very good operator of your brain because you haven't trained it, then guess what? Now you're a victim of ignorance. Now, just remind yourself that ignorance doesn't mean you're stupid. Ignorance just means you don't know. So you're losing by default of not knowing, no differently than you don't solve the Rubik's Cube, not because you can't. You just don't know how to. So if you're serious and you're committed, you learn how to. How do I manage my emotion of fear better? How do I upgrade my beliefs and my identity to match my destiny? How do I let go of disempowering, destructive, maybe even negative habits? And how do I replace them with constructive, empowering, positive habits? Though that's a skill. That's a skill. And so the how to, we know, but you're not going to do it unless you're committed, because your brain is competing to keep you comfortable versus changing. And we don't like paying the switch cost of change.
Wow, that's amazing. Someone made a comment here during live that you're winning the game of fear is phenomenal in changing thought patterns. So it's fascinating, John, because I myself don't have fears, really any fear, but Dan has a lot of fears. I was like, what the heck? You said we all have the same brain. So how can you?
Well, we weren't born with any fear, right? We can all play a little game right now and have a little bit of fun. So I'm gonna give you a little scenario. I want you all to imagine this scenario wherever you are in the world right now. I want you to imagine that somebody knocks on your door, and it's a friend. You say, "Who is it?" And your friend says, "Hey, it's me. It's Joe. It's Mary. It's Sally. It's Harry." And you say, "Hey, the door's open. Come on in." And I want you to imagine that they come in right now, and there's two other people with them, and they're holding a 300-foot white albino python. And they're walking this 300-pound, 10, 12-foot albino python towards you. Now, here's what I know. People that are listening right now or watching us, there are some people that have already felt the fear of a snake, a 10-foot, 300-pound albino, and they want to run for the door if that's a real scenario. And there's other people that are going, "Oh my God, what a great selfie opportunity. Can you bring the snake over here? I want to show everybody the snake." Now, if you're watching right now and you can type in wherever there's a chat maybe, ask yourself, which one are you? Are you bring the snake over here right now and let me take a selfie? Okay, or are you the type of person that's like, run, snake, right? Which one are you? And I'm going to give you the lesson in just a second. All right, maybe Daniel, okay, tell me what kind of feedback we're getting, right? And I don't know if we
So one run, one is, she said she'll pet the snake. There you go.
Okay, so here's what you'll find. You're going to find that about 80% of people are like run away from snakes, and maybe 20-30% are like, yeah, let's take a selfie, pet the snake. Now, here's the question. What is happening in somebody's brain, okay, that's causing them to want to run? If I say, imagine a tarantula walking up your arm towards your face, okay? Imagine, okay, just imagine in your mind somebody taking their fingers and just going down the chalkboard where it's making that screechy sound. Now, some people, just as I talked about it, they're like, "Ooh, stop, John. I didn't do anything. All I did was talk about fingers going across a chalkboard and making that, sound that causes you to feel a certain thing." Well, obviously something is happening in your brain. For some people, the word snake equals, right, fear, pain, panic, danger. And for others, the meaning that we have at the subconscious level causes a feeling of, bring the snake over here. Let me take a picture of it because I have pleasure associated with a snake. So here is the lesson. The meaning that we learned to give anything while we were growing up determines how we feel, and how we feel is an automatic trigger in our subconscious mind. All emotions, let me repeat, all emotions are triggered in the subconscious mind based on the neural patterns and memories and associations we have with that thing, that person, past or present or future. So it's never the thing. It's the meaning we have around the thing. And our brain, okay, is one of the number one priorities of our brain is to predict for safety first, to predict on how to avoid pain and discomfort first, to predict, okay, what may happen in the next second or in the future. But in that prediction, okay, based on the memory that's in the subconscious mind, our brain releases the neurochemical associated with the prediction, not the reality, the prediction. So if the association with what it is that I want to do or what it is that I can do has got a disempowering or a potentially painful, whether it's painful physically, financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, if there's any pain potential associated with what it is that I want to do, then the neurochemicals and the brakes of behavior go on. Does that make sense, Daniel?
This is incredible. Yeah, I mean, I do have that problem. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've started maybe 5 businesses that failed. And it wasn't really until I met Kate where she really helped me, because she has no fear and I have a whole lot of fear. Like you're saying, I get to a point and then I just give up because I'm expecting something to happen that will probably never happen. So I'm just going to reset real quick because I think this is incredible. I know we have a lot of questions in the audience.
Awesome.
I know you have about 35 minutes left. So this is the Masterclass with John Assaraf. He has a business breakthrough challenge coming up 2021. It's in about 3 or 4 days, December 2nd. So you can tap the link at the top. You can join that. It's $47. I mean, literally, that's like what, $1.50 a day. That's 1 Starbucks coffee, and then you can join. So $47. I joined the VIP, so I think that was an extra $97. I love the title, Unlock the 5 Groundbreaking Neuromarketing and Neuro Sales Strategies to Attract a Flood of Qualified Buyers in 5 days. Try to do that with one breath. I mean, everything you're saying are the things I need. I love the skill set, mindset, action set. I mean, these are things that we definitely need here. Look at that. Somebody actually just said, I've been in the past Business Breakthrough Challenge. VIP is the best. So all you got to do is tap the link at the top. And if you're listening here on social, you can actually message him business to his IG, and that will actually send you the link so you can join. But tap the link at the top if you're on Clubhouse. Join. $47. I mean, that's incredible. So phenomenal having you here. We actually just watched the show Succession. I don't know if you've seen that. All 3 seasons in one weekend. And we've had so many discussions around the things that you're saying around the fear, around the mindset. So I love this.
Yeah, we'll be talking in the Business Breakthrough Challenge. I'll really give everybody a framework and I'll give them what I call is the business success puzzle solved. So I'm going to give you everything that you're going to need in order to grow a successful business to whether it's $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month or $100,000 a week. I'm going to give you the entire framework. There's going to be a little bit of work each day. We're going to be doing, if you're in the general admission, we're going to do about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes. If you're in the VIP, we're going to do another extra hour, hour and a half on Zoom, answering questions. And each day for 5 days, there's going to be building blocks. And I'll give you more in 5 days than you probably received in the last year on business growth of exactly what you need to do. And we're going to get really deep into, the latest in neuro marketing and in neuro sales to make, number one, your program, product, or service stand out from the competition. But also I'll give you a framework of what you're going to need to do in order to make your business predictable so that 2022 is actually your best year ever. And I do this as a way, one of my goals is to help create, another 1,000 business multimillionaires. And I've got at least 1,000 that I've helped in the last number of years that I've worked with them. And the whole idea is to give people the algorithm. So as I mentioned earlier when we talked about the Rubik's Cube, if you don't have the algorithm, it's nearly impossible to know all the different moves of a Rubik's Cube. So I'll just give you the algorithm. And so I've made it so inexpensive for people to be able to join. It doesn't matter if you're a startup in business or you have a business that's $10 million a year right now. I'll give you enough content to be able to make your business a glowing success in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, thank you.
John, is the challenge, is it for everybody? Who can do this challenge? I'd like to know.
Yeah, listen, the people that have joined, I've done 3 challenges between the end of last year and this year. And I've had everything from, coaches, consultants, dentists, lawyers, engineers. I've had people that just want to start a new business, that want to do it right instead of do it over. So it's good for anybody who's got a business that needs to generate leads and really stand out and build your brand and differentiate it from the competition, but really understanding how to develop a process, a plan that'll actually create predictability and scalability for a profitable business. That's who it's for. It's it's not specifically for like an engineer. It's not. It's the framework for business growth. And I'll be working with people on your own mindset, but also on understanding how do you create marketing and selling that's not salesy, that stands out for the competition. One of the things that's really important when you understand the human brain and the hierarchy, think about this for just a moment. As I am speaking right now, obviously words are coming in through your ears. And if you happen to be watching, then you're activating your visual cortex. Well, the information that comes into your brain actually goes into a place called the thalamus first, which is the relay station into the different parts of your brain. A lot of people misunderstand how our brain processes information. And when you understand which parts of your brain process information first, so you can trigger the right parts of somebody's brain, so you can get them to pay attention to you first, and then you can move them along a continuum that is emotional and then logical, versus logical then emotional. Now you're starting to understand how we can trigger different parts of the brain first. And companies are spending billions of dollars in neuro marketing and neuro sales right now to be able to clear through the clutter. In 2021, 2022, think about the billions and billions and billions of dollars that are invested in marketing online or offline. If you don't know how to create marketing, messaging, and hooks to actually get people's attention first, forget about keeping their attention. You have to know how to get their attention first before you can keep it. Well, there's a neuroscience behind that, right? There's a neuroscience of how to trigger the attention center in somebody's brain. And as I mentioned earlier, our brain works based on networks and circuits that turn on or off. If you don't know how to turn on the attention circuit, if you don't know how to turn on the reward circuit, if you don't know how to turn on the fear or uncertainty or doubt circuit in somebody's brain, you're hoping and praying that your marketing, messaging, and your sales will work. Well, guess what? There are another 100 million companies just like yours that are hoping and praying their marketing message works. Well, think about this. How many of you remember the book by Seth Godin called Purple Cow? You remember he had a little story in there, and he said, "Listen, imagine that you're walking, in a neighborhood somewhere, and there's a herd of cows, and you really don't pay attention to them, but all of a sudden you notice that there's a purple one. What do? You go, holy shit, there's a purple cow." Well, does your marketing do that? Does your marketing cause people to go, oh, look at that? And in most people's cases, the answer is no, it doesn't. If your marketing doesn't do that, if you don't understand how to create a sales process that grabs attention and that moves people down a continuum to lead to a logical decision that yours is the right program, product, service, coaching, consulting to choose versus somebody else's, then you're hoping and praying. You're hoping and praying to solve the Rubik's Cube. And there's just so many people competing with you. And so we'll get deep into understanding the neuromarketing and neurosales, but also, how do you, neurosell yourself to achieve your goals and dreams.
Love that. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
There is a lot to unravel here. So I'm excited that we can dig in. I'm going through your challenge, the breakthrough challenge. So hopefully I can see a bunch of people out here and we can take the challenge together. I think that'd be really fun, fun thing for us to do in this club. All you got to do is tap the top. You can join the Business Breakthrough Challenge. It's $47. I thought it was $4,000. It's literally $47. I signed up for VIP, so I think it was $147 or $137 total. So it's one of the most inexpensive challenges I've done. So I'm really excited. And I know just listening to you here, there's going to be an incredible amount of value coming from that. So all people have to do is tap the top, and then people messaged on social. You can actually send a message to John's social channels, business, the word business, and they'll send you a link. But if you're on Clubhouse, tap the link at the top, join the Business Breakthrough Challenge. It's in 3 days from now it starts. So I'd love to see some more people there. We can take it all together. I got the VIP is $197 plus $47, $137, or whatever that comes out to, which is, very inexpensive for a challenge. So I'm excited to take that. We're actually going to go to questions now because I know you have 27 minutes left. I know we have a lot of people that want to ask questions. So I'm just going to
some questions.
Get ready, because we have some great people out here and they ask some really incredible questions. So I'm going to start at the top, but if you want to ask a question here, just flash your mic here and then I'll just start at the top and then we'll work our way down. If you want to ask John a question, and then we will jump to some questions. We have about 27 minutes left. Sorry, I'm just checking to see who has questions here. Just keep flashing there. All right, we're going to start with Fred, and then we'll go from there. Fred, over to you.
Hey, Fred. Yep. A lot. Listen, we had a coordinated effort between I think it was 25 of us in the movie The Secret, and the whole idea obviously was to create a groundswell and to create something that was unique and different. And then it took a life of its own. So I would love to share with you that, we created that life. What we did create was the initial PR strategy between print media, radio, and television, and taking a lot of the experts and getting them onto the major, TV and radio shows and print media. But we also, started off with a phenomenal movie that Rhonda, burn put together. We had nothing to do with the movie itself. Rhonda created a great product. And the timing was so right. Rhonda was the first to be able to take, a concept of think, believe, and you'll achieve and put it into a visual form with enough flair to create a buzz in the world. And I think the movie's now been seen by, 500-600 million people. And so there was a lot of tactical, decisions and strategical initiatives that were put together for that.
John. Sorry, I didn't know Fred was jumping in. Appreciate that. I know Jude here always has some phenomenal questions, and we got Stacy. Sorry, there's some issues with the Clubhouse app where it flashes, even though people aren't flashing. So it's a little bit complicated, but don't worry. We have to do this every day. So just before we go, if you tap the top, you can actually join the Business Breakthrough Challenge. But we're going to go to in order here. We got Stacy, and then Jude. And then we'll go from there. I have some other people here, though. Stacy, then Jude, then BU. Go ahead, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy. Amazing. You too. Uh-huh. Daily. Yeah. So I'm showing on camera right now my latest best-selling book is called Inner Size: The New Science to Unlock Your Brain's Hidden Power. So Stacy, I have a question for you. Do you exercise? What do you do to exercise? Yeah. Okay, so hold on. Okay, let's just go to Peloton, right? So Peloton is a form of exercise where you're getting a workout for your legs, your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, your calves, and you're getting a cardiovascular, exercise, which is strengthening your muscles and your inner cardiovascular capacity, right? Great, so you're exercising to do that. Well, what if I told you, for example, that visualization is mental simulation? Visualization is mental simulation, and when you visualize, you're actually firing the neurons in your brain, and we know from the neuroscience research that the neurons that fire together wire together. Now, why is that important? Well, what if you started to visualize for 3 minutes a day yourself earning the income that you really want to earn, and you visualized that income, you visualized how you felt, you visualized how it would change your life, you visualized how it would help other people, you visualized your lifestyle, you visualized the charities that you could help as a result of earning more income. And in that visualization, you were creating and reinforcing neural patterns, and if they were reinforced over a period of 30, 60, 90 days, what I call is inner sizing, is it true that whatever it is that we practice, we make permanent? Oh, so visualization could be an inner size to strengthen your core neuromuscles. One of your core neuromuscles is focus. One of your other core neuromuscles is self-worth and self-esteem and self-image. One of your other core neuromuscles is imagination. One of your other, I can give you 30, 40, 50 neuromuscles that most people do not reinforce positive ones, they reinforce existing ones. Right? Yeah. You got it. Well, yeah, visualization is one. Yeah, visualization is one way to do it. Affirmations is another. Reframing is another. Meditation's another. Mindfulness is another. Subliminals is another. There are 10, 12 easily accessible methodologies to strengthen your mind. And if you want to get into, psychedelics, you can use those to defrag some stuff and to recreate some stuff. So there's a lot of ways that we are learning to deactivate certain patterns, and we are creatures of habit patterns, right? And so there are some habits that are constructive and empowering us, and some habits that are destructive and disempowering us. But very few people have the skill. First, very few people have the knowledge that this is possible, but very few people have the skill or the habits of how do I inner-size my brain? I have $100 billion brain, but I don't really know how to use it. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's great. Yes. Walking meditations are great. Listen, meditation doesn't mean you sit down or lay down, close your eyes, and do Om chanting or mantras. There are hundreds of different types of meditations, right? It's kind of like saying exercise. Like meditation is like saying exercise. There's a variety of different types of meditation. There's open eye, there's closed eye. There's breathing, there's not breathing. There are thought meditations, there are no thought meditations. There are so many different forms of meditations. But I want you to start thinking more in terms, this is for everybody, of I have a series of neuromuscles, just like I have a series of muscles. And, if I want to strengthen my core of my body, I'm going to be doing maybe Pilates or sit-ups or pull-ups or leg raises or something to strengthen my core. Well, what are my core neuromuscles? Well, awareness is one of your core neuromuscles. Focus is one of your core neuromuscles. Most people, have they're distractosauruses. They are so easily distracted, because their lack of a focus neuromuscle. And Stacy, just so we're clear, you aren't multitasking. Okay, all of the research shows. Now, if you're considering doing a walking meditation as multitasking, then I can understand it. But when people start one thing, then stop and do something else, and then start and do something else, they consider that multitasking. But what they're really doing is starting and stopping a whole bunch of stuff that is shown to actually be a very ineffective way for high productivity and high performance. Now, can you get on the bike and listen to a podcast at the same time? Of course you can. Good use of time. If you're considering that as multitasking, that's okay. But here's what you'll never be able to do effectively. Learn how to ride a bike and retain what's in a podcast at the same time. Because walking, you are unconsciously competent in. So there is no thought required for walking or biking for most people. If you're learning to drive a car and you need to learn something else, you're not going to learn either one effectively unless you're able to focus on one. Because we're going to be clumsy beginners at first, and then we're going to be consciously competent. So most people, when they think of multitasking, they're actually switching from one thing to the next. Thank you. Thanks, Stacy. Oh, good. Good. You're so welcome.
See, so I know we have people asking questions on Clubhouse, and we have some social people. So I'm going to rephrase the question so everyone on social can hear what the question is. But we had Jude up next. I have a list of some people. I know we have about 14 minutes. So if you could please ask the question directly, I'm going to rephrase the question so people on social know what it is. And then over to you, John. So Jude, you are up next, and get ready for this. This is going to be a good one.
Good. Hi, Jude. Sure. Yep. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to give you. Probably a different answer than you've received. And so I study everything from quantum physics and quantum mechanics all the way through to neuroscience to see if I can get the bigger scope of physics and metaphysics. So let me share with you. There's a lot of people who want something, but secretly don't believe they deserve it or are going to get it. Now, why is that important? Well, from my vantage point, there is something that we talked about in The Secret that I think everybody pretty much agrees with, is that everything is made up of energy, right? So my molecular structure, 100 trillion cells that are coalesced in hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, honk, which makes this sentient being called John Assaraf vibrate and oscillate at a certain frequency, does something else that is based on something called or something around waves and particles at the quantum level of life, right? So there is the thing that you hear, okay, my voice, and there's, for some of you, you're seeing me, but really I'm a vibrating, packets of energy called quanta. Now, why do I want to go there for this answer? Well, the belief that I have is that If everything exists in a wave or particle potentiality at the quantum level of life, then is it possible that my mindset and my emotions are working in this participatory universe, and I'm collapsing the wave of possibility into probabilities based on not only my vision and my goals, but my belief system and my ability to achieve it and my deservability to achieve it? So, what do we know about frequency? Think about this for just a moment. If you want to listen to rock and roll music right now, you need to turn on, let's say your radio and tune in right onto that frequency, right? You want rock and roll, it's 95.5. If you go to 95.6, that might be punk rock. And rock and roll station is not there anymore, even though it's here in the room that you're in. And so when you ask me, do I believe in fate? Do I believe in, predetermination? No, I don't. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that my life is predetermined for me. The only difference between me and you and a horse and a pig is one word, and that's choice. And so our creator, whatever she or he or it was or is, a horse and a pig, has every component that you and I do except choice, okay, at the level that we do. And so we can collapse the wave of possibility into probabilities and particles, from wave possibility to particle, right, which is physicalness, through our thinking and our emotional control. So are we thinking positive but expecting negative? Or are we hoping and praying without acting? So I personally believe that when you get that, that mindset and the emotional connection, mindset and heart set, and you take the inspired action set, now your probability goes through the roof versus the possibility. And some people learn how to do that. Other people just have that as a natural part of their genetic predisposition. And Judy, you may be one of those people that when you have that mindset and that heart set, like maybe you and Kate don't have fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, rejected, unloved. Maybe you don't have limiting beliefs. Maybe you don't have, a part of you that doesn't fully believe that. So why? Go ahead. Well, but that means you're all in. Yeah, it's a lot more complex. Well, when we talk about luck, though, right? Even the person whose doorbell rings, to say you've just won Clearinghouse's $10 million, okay? They entered the contest. My father has won the lottery twice, $50,000 one time and like $17,000 another time. He bought the tickets, though. So was he lucky? Yes. But he bought the tickets. He put the play in motion. Now listen, once in a while, on your path, magical shit happens. I get that. All right. And it's like, oh my God. Yeah. But luck on its own, I haven't seen luck on its own be the determining factor for somebody who's not in action, right? Like in the game playing. I haven't seen it often where somebody's achieved some incredible success without some kind of intention to play to succeed. Has it happened? Yes. Does luck play a part? Yes. I've been supremely lucky. And I take so much action, that luck happens while I'm taking action. It rarely has happened when I am doing no thing.
Amazing. Thank you, Jen. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, John. I know we're coming up to time here, so we'll get to one more. I know Heather had a question, so I'm going to hand it to Heather, and that looks like that will be the last question. And before we do that, if you do want to join the challenge here, the Breakthrough Challenge, all you got to do is tap the link at the top, the Breakthrough Challenge right there. The Neuro Gym, he only does this or has done it 3 times. So I'm really excited I just joined the VIP as well. It was $47 to join the challenge. I mean, I don't know why anyone would not want to do $47 to join a challenge with John Assaraf. I thought it was going to be $4,000, but it was $47. I joined the VIP at $97. That is incredible. I can't wait. I can't wait to do this also with others here. I have a mindset issue, so I'm excited to break through my mindset issue, which we talked about earlier. But I'm going to go to Heather for the last question because I know, John, you're running out of time. So, Heather, over to you.
Hi, Heather. Awesome. Thanks.
In between.
Me too.
Some of the times, and you talked about it earlier, and fear, and Kate was talking about it as well as Daniel. But I wanted to ask this question publicly inside the room because I think as entrepreneurs, we are going on a new venture. A lot of things going on right now with NFTs and Bitcoin, and of course, new ways of marketing, and on and on and on it goes. It always changes, right? Is that as we're shifting so fast and changing so fast in this new world, what is the best way to actually truly not only allow ourselves to change fast, but also overcoming, moving through, or shape-shifting that fear at a very fast rate, right? Because I feel like our brains can sometimes be a bit slow, and things are shifting so fast. How can we really accelerate the process to take the action we need to do and overcome the fear?
Love it. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. So let's understand fear. Okay. I'm going to go back to the neuromechanics of fear, and let's have a little dialogue, Heather. And so let me give you a scenario and tell me what you would do or not do. You're driving your car. I imagine you drive. All right. And you and I are sitting, you're driving and I'm sitting next to you as a passenger. And you and I are talking, and all of a sudden a light pops on your dashboard and your light's flashing. Okay. What does the light represent on your dashboard, right where your speedometer is? Okay, hold on. Let's use that as a perfect example because I was going to go there. So let's say, great. So the light went on because a sensor in the tires, okay, is tracking, okay, the air pressure, okay, in your tires. And when it gets low, your light flashes as a signal to let you know, hey, you need to fill up your air so that you are running an efficient car and so you don't get a flat, so that, okay, you have the smoothest ride, right? What if the light flashed for, hey, you're low on fuel, or you're low on windshield wiper fluid, or your trunk is open, right? There's a sensor, there's hundreds of sensors in your car that send messages, okay, to the motherboard. And if something is off calibration, it sends a signal in the form of a flashing light on your dashboard. What if I shared with you, this is so perfect, right? What if I shared with you that the fear circuit flashes, okay, when your brain perceives real or imagined pain or discomfort and danger? What if I just said to you, there's nothing wrong with the freaking sensor? There's nothing wrong with the sensor. When your brain is predicting being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, losing money, making a mistake, whatever it's predicting might happen because of the memory that exists from the past. It's just sending a signal in the form of cortisol, epinephrine, or norepinephrine. And when we feel this, we don't like it. But because we don't know what it means and we don't know what to do about it, the number one thing that our brain does is it deactivates the motivational center and deactivates the behavioral center of the brain so that we fight, freeze, or run away. That is the natural, automatic, subconscious, non-thinking behavior to an untrained person. I don't mind. Yeah.
Going with that. And I went through that time, a big bankruptcy, lost a couple of houses, went through that. Now that was years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And that's over. And obviously that's not in reality. However, there's some things going on that I know that are great opportunities, and I'm seeing myself freeze.
Yeah, I of course I see the connection. Yeah. Can you see me? Are you watching me as well right now in the stream? Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. I was going to show you something above me, up on my desk, and whoever's watching right now, you can see over there. There's Frankenstein's monster, and over there's Einstein's an image of Einstein. So I want you to remember what I suggested earlier, right? Your brain. So let me backtrack for just a moment. Our brain will wire a painful experience 10,000 times faster than a positive, pleasurable experience. So why do we do that? Because the number one priority of our brain is safety and avoidance of pain or discomfort. That's the number one priority of the human brain. Number one. So your brain's doing a phenomenal job reminding you, hey, Heather, do you remember what happened the last time? How you were embarrassed and ashamed and you felt so guilty and tell me what you felt back then. Your brain, ashamed, vulnerable, embarrassed, right? It affected your self-worth, your self-esteem. It was financially painful. It was mentally, emotionally painful. And your brain's going ding, 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 right? And so first and foremost, thank your brain because it's doing a phenomenal job reminding you of what's possible. Now, let's go to higher cortical functions of our brain. Now, have you ever driven your car and taken a hammer and hit that damn light because it was on? No, that'd be ridiculous, right? Now, what would you do? You say, oh, my tire pressure is low. I better get to the gas station and fill it up or have it filled up. So Heather, there's nothing wrong with the signal of fear. It's working beautifully. Okay, and so your $100 billion brain is freaking awesome now. What has to happen in order for you to make sure that the lessons you learned that caused the pain in the past actually serves you instead of holds you back? What has to happen? Okay, if you did know, what would have to happen? Great. So the past does not equal the future. That's one. Number two, are there certain things you could do to prepare yourself better than you did last time? Are there certain strategies that you can implement to make sure that what you do is smarter than last time? Are there certain behaviors that you can do and certain behaviors that you will not do that'll ensure success instead of a result you don't want this time? Heather, do those things. Focus on what you're going to gain, not what might happen, but you have to give your brain a path to ensure that the same outcome will not be the new reality, because that's what it's concerned with. And it's moving you away from that in the form of procrastination and self-sabotaging behaviors, because you haven't shown it a way to the new. So it's focusing on the old. Your Frankenstein's monster is active, going what if, negative. Automatically, subconsciously, without you being aware of it, except you're aware of the behavior. You, on the new behavior, the new process, and the new outcome. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty of this. There's nothing wrong with the circuit firing and releasing the neurochemicals. Listen, I want you to think about this. If you removed, my face and my eyes and my nose, and you just had a brain, right? If you just think about this organism called a brain, okay? How does this brain make decisions? How does this brain operate, this nervous system, right? Pattern recognition, that's exactly right. So your brain is recognizing an old pattern, predicting into the future what might happen, but it's causing you to feel a certain way right now, and that is protect myself. Great. So if your brain is saying, show me how you're going to protect me from feeling the same old embarrassment, vulnerability, and pain that I went through, I'll let you move forward. This is a higher cortical functioning human being. Now we're operating out of awareness. Now we're operating out of intention. Now we're operating, out of taking inspired action to move us forward. Versus being stuck by an old pattern that wants to hold us hostage and keep us safe. You're welcome. Thank you. Good. Yeah, and this is part of just part of learning emotional management, right? It's like I have emotions. I'm not my emotions, but as a human being, I have emotions. Those emotions release neurochemicals that causes me to feel a certain way. I move towards the feelings that make me feel good. I move away from the feelings that don't make me feel good. Now, what if I could learn how to be more aware of my emotions and not use any judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification, but pure awareness? And awareness is giving me the chance to make different choices. Awareness gives you choice, and choice is what gives you freedom. But most people are stuck, in patterns that they don't even recognize are holding them back, and what's causing those patterns. You're welcome. Thank you for doing it. Great. And you may want to pick up the book Inner Size, but because it'll also give you 9 brain training audios that come with the book to help you exactly with that, with some inner sizes. So yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. Love it, Heather.
Yes, thank you, Heather. Great, no, phenomenal question. I think most of us suffer from that as well. So I know this is the end, and so I know we're going to give you a big shout out and clap and everything. But before we do, is there anything though that you wanted to add? I know we have the link up here for your challenge.
Thanks.
You just talked about the Inner Size book as well. Anything else that you want to add in?
Listen, the stuff that I like to leave people with, right, is if you really think about what you are, not who you are, but what you are. Billions of years of evolution, 2 million plus years of human evolution on this little blue planet anyway. You have this brain that's genius in its abilities. I mean, beyond genius. But we weren't given the user's manual, for how it works. So we're not very good operators of something that we already own that's worth $100 billion at least. So I invite you to become a better operator, okay, of your brain, part one. Part two, if you want to grow a business, then I invite you to learning the frameworks that'll make growing it easier, not easy, okay, but easier because the algorithms exist, right? The fundamentals and the intermediate and the advanced strategies of what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, all exist. And when we're talking about building a business, when you can really understand how do I clear through the noise so that I can create marketing and messaging that does that, and I can gather people's attention, and I can build my brand around the product, the service, the passions that I have. Making money is a byproduct of helping more people with your product or your service. Right? Money is the effect. So you can't focus on the effect. You have to focus on the cause. And every single business, I don't care what kind of business you are, you have to do selling and marketing. And if you're going to do selling and marketing, why do it at the kindergarten level when the pro level is available? Like, why just hack at it when you can learn the fundamentals of neuromarketing, how people's brains work, and how to create, your marketing and your selling in a way that people want to buy from you instead of your competition. But you don't have to be salesy to do that. You just have to be smart. So if you work smarter, you don't have to work harder. And it's all about a process. So I invite you to, if you've got a business, it's pretty inexpensive. I think if I was saying, would you take me out to lunch for $47 or $150? Most people would say, sure. If I can pick your brain, well, I'll give you 40 years of building a lot of companies. I'll give you 5 days worth of great content. And if you're in the VIP, we'll do a lot of Q&A sessions right after each one of the general sessions. And we'll have some fun and help you grow your business. And if you want to, make 2022 an amazing, business growth year that'll fuel the lifestyle of your dreams, business can be the royal road to your financial freedom and an amazing lifestyle. But you've got to upgrade your mindset and skill set and your action set in order to make that a reality. And you're only going to do it if you're committed. You're not going to do it if you're interested. And that's where we started an hour and 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, John, I have one last question. Okay. So if you're back in the 19-year-old when Mr. Brown asked you what would be your net worth you want to be, what would you say?
If I didn't hear the whole question, Kate. If I went back to my 19-year-old self.
Yes, when you were that 19-year-old that Mr. Brown asked you about how much your net worth you would want to be. So what would you say?
Back then, I wrote down I wanted to retire at age 45 with a net worth of $3 million. And I didn't have any idea. It was 26 years later, right? I ended up by the time I was 30 with many, many, many more millions more than that. But I picked a number that was so ludicrous for me at the time that I wouldn't change the number that I put down because I didn't believe that to be true at the time. But he gave me the foundation of dreaming big and then becoming the person capable of achieving those goals and dreams. So he gave me the framework. And then when I started to get into real estate and I started to get into personal development, I started to understand a little bit more about quantum physics and metaphysics and the unseen world and the forces of the unseen world, and how, like right here, if I was to put my hand a foot apart high, a foot apart wide, what most people don't know is in the space between my hands, there's enough energy in the atoms of the molecules in this space to boil every ocean on planet Earth. Like, think about that. In this little space, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, there's enough energy in the atoms of those molecules to boil the oceans of the world. That's what nuclear power is. When you can release, right, the nuclear power of an atom, it is 1,000,000 times more powerful than a chemical reaction, which is 1,000,000 times more powerful than a physical action. So once I started learning the power of my own mind, that was the catalyst for me to be able to build a pretty decent lifestyle over the last 41 years. Right? So it started, though, with understanding early on, 41 years ago, the power within us, in everyone. And I have not stopped studying, neuroscience and behavioral neuroscience and neuropsychology for 41 years. So I understand me better. Right? So I want to understand me better because I want to be a high performance human being for me. And then I achieved some success. Then I started to write about it and wrote some New York Times bestsellers and started to teach it. And it was duplicatable. That's the beauty of what I'm doing, is if it was just me that achieved some success, you could point at me and go, you're different, you're special, you have unique skills. But I've got tens of thousands of students around the world that are achieving success by just duplicating the thinking, the mindset, and the beliefs and the inner game of the mindset, plus the skill set and the action set. So it's duplicatable. So it's not just me.
Wow, thank you so much. Such an honor having you. There's so much to download.
So much fun.
John.